I'm Brynn Noel. I'm an IFBB Pro as of this year. Bikini is the division that I compete in. And I turned pro at USA's, which is a muscle contest production. It was usually here in Vegas, but it was in Arizona because of COVID. And it was back in July. I had three other girlfriends that went pro at the same show. So all four of us went pro. It was quite an experience. Yeah. It was so much fun.
How did you go from like wanting to kind of just compete? It's like, okay, I want to take this to that next level.
So I started competing in 2018. My very first show was the Steve Carr Classic, which is here in Vegas. And I got serious about training in 2017. That was when I was 17 years old. So I guess going far, far back, I was a competitive cheerleader for 11 years growing up. After that, I just transferred straight into the gym because I always wanted something like being active. And my parents were always into fitness. So they would train 6 days a week, meal prep, eat healthy. So they lived the lifestyle. They were never trainers or competitors themselves, but they just lived the lifestyle. So it was all around me. So I kind of already lived it, so I just jumped right in after cheer. And what kind of took me from just working out to competing, I guess, was I just got stuck. I wanted something more. So I didn't really have a specific goal. I was kind of maintaining for a minute, and I needed something to push me even harder. And I would look on Instagram and see all these girls competing, and I was looking at the glam suits, and I'm like, this is interesting. So, I asked my coach, I said, how long, would it take for me to do a show? And he said 12 weeks. So then I immediately got online and started looking at shows 12, 13, 14 weeks ahead. And the Steve Carr Classic was the first show. So we jumped right in.
It's pretty cool to have that, growing up to be exposed to that. A lot of people, don't get that lucky when it comes to having good role models of health.
Right.
Not that to say parents that aren't necessarily living that lifestyle can't be good parents, but we're missing that, I think, a lot of times when it comes to, just the fact that parents honestly probably don't know a lot about how to be healthy. How do you think, obviously it probably taught you to, be more conscious about what you put in your body and being active and things like that. But what do you think it taught you about the mindset of it?
I mean, I owe my whole career basically to my parents. They started me in it. We would even go to shows and be spectators when I was younger. So I guess the mindset would just be being more mindful of what you eat, how you, utilize your body, how, what you do throughout the day to be active, to be proactive, and just be more aware, I guess.
Was there any preconceived kind of notions about what competing and the world of, bodybuilding was going to be like, and then it kind of turned out to be a little bit different?
So I basically went in with no expectations. I had no idea. I was very naive, very little kid. I was in the teen division, and to be very honest, I was the only person in the division. So by default, I won the very first show. So, I mean, I was there. I was just a happy camper looking around. I was just using it as a learning experience. I was learning, what it's like to be backstage, how to pump up, all these little things, and how to tan, there's so many things. I met a couple great girls that I still talk to today. And that's the great thing about fitness, is that the friendships that you make are so genuine, because you're like-minded people. You know what it takes to do a show and to do a prep. It takes sacrifice, it takes, dedication. So these are very like-minded people. And I mean, I still talk to a lot of them today, but it was a fun experience. And right when I did it, I was like, I'm hooked. Let's do another one.
What was the hardest part for you?
Going back, sticking to a regimen and sticking to a routine, a meal plan, being that tunnel visioned is hard for most people, especially because you get distracted by life, you get busy, all this kind of stuff with work. But that's where I thrive on structure and routine. So that part's pretty easy for me, I guess, to say. Like, if there's one thing that's very difficult about bodybuilding and about prepping and stuff is the constant sacrifice that you do have to make when you are invited out, when you're invited to events, parties, all this kind of stuff, but you have other responsibilities. You're super fatigued, so like you just can't go. And constantly turning those down on the regular, it's kind of frustrating at times. So, I mean, I think everybody in the bodybuilding world has lost friends, has, made those sacrifices, because a lot of people don't understand what it takes to, get yourself to that level.
Did you have any friends or family come to you and say like, why are you doing this? It's it's just about, the vain part of it, the looks. It's did you have any people kind of like not who you didn't really expect to, but not be on your side when you decided to compete?
So I am very blessed to say that no, everybody has been so supportive in my life, which I'm so grateful for. But I've heard a lot of people do have that situation going on for them, which it's hard enough, going through this, but it's even harder when everyone else is against you. So I give props to people that can do it without the support.
So when you started to train, were you training in that, like, not necessarily training to compete, but just training in general, going to the gym, working out? Were you training in a bodybuilding style kind of training mode, or was there, when you started, was it kind of a little bit different?
Yep, I was always training in that kind of mode, was to like build muscle, because in the very beginning I was just building, my base muscle. And I had a trainer, and I feel like he was secretly training me for bikini, without me telling me. Like, so yeah, I always was training. I actually started with my family. So I would go train with my family. They would teach me the form, everything like that, which is another reason I'm grateful that they are the way they are, because who knows where I would be in fitness if it wasn't, for their influence.
Yeah, I think that's one good thing about bodybuilding, the fact that it does encourage that like weightlifting side of things, especially in the female population, where it's, I think it's getting a lot better with social media and things. It's actually pushing more people, I think, to realize that everybody can and probably should do some sort of like weightlifting. But I think it really has pushed a lot of females even before social media to realize the importance and the value that lifting weights can bring.
100% agree with you. I'm all for strong women lifting, building muscle. I mean, muscle burns fat. So the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. So it's so much healthier that way too. I mean, even the Victoria's Secret models are lifting and, building muscle, which I think is such a great way, especially to build up the next generation. You know what I mean?
Have you seen like people come to you and whether it be in person or online on social media or whatever, wondering like, hey, how can I do this? Like, do people ask you a lot about how to get in shape?
They do. Yes. I mean, some people just randomly just like, hey, how do I get in shape? I'm like, okay, wait. It's kind of a long story. Like, there's a couple of things you got to do. Um, I am a personal trainer. So a lot of times they will sign up as one of my clients, and then I'll take them on and teach them how to build muscle or lose the fat or both, whatever their goals are. So, but there's a lot to it. It's not a simple pill, you can take.
Yeah.
And there's no secret either. You gotta take the stairs. So
Yeah, and I think that's a tough. It's tough for
yeah,
people to realize that it's a lifestyle. It's not just a. I feel like there's a diet culture, and then there's like a diet culture within fitness too. Of like, okay, if I work out, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, I can do whatever I want. Outside of that, creating that new habit and a new lifestyle is not easy. And how do you think, being a coach and a trainer and things, like, how do you think that you've helped people kind of see that? What advice have you kind of given people in the kind of the battle of taking it from just something that you're starting out doing and actually creating a habit and then creating that lifestyle?
so I mean, they say it takes 21 days to create a habit. So I mean, I always encourage my clients to start off with the first 21 days doing a couple things, small steps, like, like drinking a gallon of water, getting so and so sleep, training 3-4 days a week, whatever their program is. and then see how they feel after 21 days. And most of the time they're like, why stop now? I'm already a month in. And I'm like, that's how you kind of create the momentum. And also the mutual support, being there for them and encouraging them along the way. It's great to have support. So that's how I help too.
It can be challenging to either like know when enough is enough or when to keep pushing. And obviously you have people surrounding you, but do you have like anything that you do, like maybe like a journal or just anything where it's like, okay, if I feel like I'm kind of going overboard, this is when how I can kind of check myself on that.
So yeah, it's very overwhelming, like all the information that it comes with like fitness and training. But my coach, even I'm a coach and I have a coach. So whatever my coach says, I listen to him. I told him before, I was like, I think I'm overtraining, and I would like explain to him what I'm doing. And he's like, yeah, too much. And I'm like, okay. um, so yeah, I mean, even trainers have trainers. It's always better to have a second opinion, second eye, because you may know exactly what to do, but you always critique yourself harder. You always, second guess yourself. So it's always better to have a second opinion.
And I think that's one good thing too of having a plan going into it, because even that I think kind of holds you accountable. You know, if you just go into the gym and you're like, okay, I'm gonna just go in and do something, it's very
Hmm.
hard, I think, to even someone
Like
who
100 machines, you're like, which one? I'm
yeah,
just gonna go home.
yeah, or you end up doing like one thing and then you take like, 5 to 10 minutes figuring out what's next, and then
Hmm.
something that could have taken you 30 minutes or whatever takes you an hour, and then just having that plan, I think.
And then taking progress pictures is very important. Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. I mean, pictures can like say so much. I know people like overthink the picture thing. They're like, no, I don't want to take pictures, but they say so much. You know what I mean? And it can also help you in the future when you're trying to, further your fitness career.
How have you kind of used those kind of like markers or trackers? Like, what's the biggest thing for you? Is it the weight? Is it the measurements? What is it for you to kind of keep you motivated and realize that things are changing?
From the very beginning, my coach had me take pictures weekly. So the pictures are a big thing for me. What I liked about my coach's approach to it was he didn't strictly go off weight. Like we kept track of my weight, but it was more so how I felt and how I looked. Um, he just went off of like the look I was going for, the muscle I was building in the certain places, like my delts, my glutes, my legs, all this kind of stuff. So, but going back to the pictures like the very beginning and then comparing them to like now, or even like my first show, second show to now, it's mind blowing. Sometimes I'm just like, is that even me?
Yeah.
So weird. It's really cool actually. And it's actually motivating too. Cause like sometimes on days if I'm like feeling down, I'll like go back to my old pictures and like just look how far you've come.
Going back to just like the beginning of a fitness journey, or even like starting to compete or whatever, something where you need to be like more strict on yourself, have a little bit more discipline and a routine and things like that. Do you have a specific routine that you kind of like do on a daily basis?
I'm just a very routine person. So my whole day is pretty routine, but I do my morning routine is very important to me because I like to get up. I don't like to check my phone for at least like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I do some breathing techniques, some meditation, some stuff like that, just to calm my mind and just to like, I do affirmations too, just to remind myself that like, I am able, I am worthy, I am loved, and like, I am here to inspire people. And that really helps me remain calm throughout the day because there are so many things, so many stressors in life. So I do like my morning affirmations and like my morning routine, just to know that I'm doing it for me and not for anyone else. I actually the book that changed my perspective on that is called The Secret, and it's about like manifestation and stuff like that. So I read that a long, long time ago, but when I was first getting into fitness, and I basically like found myself in the gym. So like when I started training alone outside of my family, I used the gym as like my therapy, and those are the times when I would envision myself training in the body that I wanted. like envisioning myself looking like the girls on stage that were inspiring to me, and like that were on the Olympia stage. And I think that that played a huge factor in my motivation and in my whole journey. The mindfulness that you have at the gym. I mean, some people are just at the gym on their phones. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're here to work out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I'm on do not disturb on my phone. My phone's in my bag. Like, I don't even know where it is. I'm just like, I'm just here.
Was there any time when you thought, maybe this just isn't for me? Maybe I need to step away, or anything, any doubts?
That is a really good question, but I can confidently say no. I I 100% think that I was like born for this. I am very calm backstage. Even like right as I step on stage, I'm just very calm. I don't feel nerves. I don't really get nervous. Um, I'm confident, but I pride myself in the fact that I'm not cocky about it. I don't know. I just walk in very calm. And even people tell me, they're like, are you even nervous? I'm like, no. Like, they're like, you're just very calm. I don't know.
What do you think that's attributed to?
A lot of people are there to like compare themselves to others. I know a lot of girls struggle with that actually backstage. They compare themselves to other competitors, all this kind of stuff, and they're very hard on themselves. And it's understandable, because it's a competition. But I never let myself do that. I love talking to people backstage. I love connecting with people backstage and asking them about their journey and how they made it to the stage. So that's kind of where I thrive, is like just learning about other competitors backstage. But I never looked at it as a competition. I kind of just did it for fun. Like, I'm here, I did all the work. There's nothing else I can do, let's just have fun.
I think that's a cool aspect of bodybuilding, is like, it really is pretty much all about the weeks before. And with
Hmm.
any sport it is, to a degree, because like you have to practice, you have to get good at the skill, but like you can't really luck into what you look like. You can't luck into that, kind of the way you can almost like luck into a good shot or a good catch or a good throw, whatever. You have to, like, I feel like it's just so amplified in bodybuilding, to where every single thing you do, every choice you make, the food, the water, the training, the sleep, everything goes in, and you can almost just tell it whenever somebody gets up there.
Hmm. Hmm. It's also so like out of your control. Like, it's all about who shows up. Someone else could show up, and they did work harder than you, or they did do something, different than you, and it worked for them. So props to them. But I mean, it's all out of your control at that point, when it comes to show day. So that's just the day to have fun.
So walk us through that day, that competition, that shining moment, if you want to call it that.
Oh my God. You want me to start crying? Just kidding. It was crazy. So my friend and I actually roomed together, and I've never roomed with a competitor before. I've never had my family not come to a show before, and they weren't there because it was out of state and, travel and all that kind of stuff. So I just went with my friend, and then it was just perfect. Like, I don't know how else to explain it other than just perfect. Like, the feeling I had when I woke up that day and it was show day, I just felt very enlightened, and like nothing could go wrong and everything was on time and it was just smooth as butter. I don't know. I don't know. It was amazing. And then I thought that, I'm like, wow, that was my seventh show. So 7 shows in, and I finally got my pro card. And it was weird because like the girl that won first, so I got second in my class, but we both got our pro card. Um, we both kind of like looked at each other on stage and like had a feeling that we both kind of did it. And it was so cool. And I still talk to her too. She's a sweetheart. So like I said, everyone that you meet is just so nice. But yeah, the fact that four of my friends and I went pro at the same time was amazing.
Well, that is cool. I mean, what was there, like a celebration afterwards? Was like kind of a relief, a cut loose, like a big meal? What was there kind of afterwards?
I mean, after we did go to Cheesecake Factory, and we had some like crumble cookies and stuff. But honestly, I've never been more motivated in my career other than like after turning pro. I was like, okay, now I'm with the big dogs. I was like, I gotta step up.
Yeah,
So I was like, the next day, my coach and I had a plan, and we kind of just got to work.
that's cool. I think that's one thing people struggle with when they set goals is that like that feeling afterwards when you complete it and then you have that like I can't remember
Post
what
show
the
depression is a real thing.
yes, the depression
Yes.
and things like that afterwards. And
Hmm.
um especially like I guess when you move up to another level, you have that extra kind of like motivation to even push even harder. But I mean, did you face anything like that or not?
I did go through a stage where I was like, it was like, it was, I was like, I'm 21 years old at the time. I was like, why am I, turning pro, getting able to compete at a pro level when there's so many people that I know that are in their 30s, 40s who are still chasing the pro card. I was like, why, why me? But then I kind of, looked in the mirror. I was like, because you did the work, you got yourself there. You put in the time, 7 shows in, you did the thing. So, and then I kind of thought of it then as like a privilege. So going into my very first pro show, I told myself, I was like, all right, you're not, you know, if you win first, great. But I don't think, there was no pressure on at any point. I just went in, with an open mind, knowing that I was going to learn a lot, knowing that I was going to experience an actual pro show. And that was such a fun experience too. That one was in Texas. The Battle of Texas was my first pro show. And that was amazing. I just can't even put into words how amazing it was.
What are the big differences for you between the pro and the non-pro competitions?
Oh, there's a huge difference. I mean, it's another level. It's basically an entire new sport. I'm basically starting from the bottom again, you know what I mean? So I made my way to the top in the amateur in the NPC, and now I'm trying to make my way to the top in the IFBB. So I mean, a lot of the competition's tougher, obviously. The girls have a lot more muscle maturity, which is a disadvantage for me because I'm so young that like that's basically what the judges said is I needed a little bit more muscle maturity, but that, comes with time. So again, you have to just be patient when it comes to that. You can't rush things like that. So
How has your training kind of evolved? Has it evolved at all just to, take yourself to that next level, or is it just, keep putting in the work?
I mean, since the very beginning, it's changed. I mean, I like to switch it up. I get bored. So I always switch it up with, like hit workouts, pulses, time under tension, those different types of training, high volume, low volume. Um, but basically with every show, we just take the judges' feedback and go from there. So most of the time, I didn't have any like imbalances. Like they said, my glutes were too small, my shoulders were too, they kind of just told me to overall grow. Um, so that's just been the goal the whole time is grow the delts, grow the shoulders, the legs, just overall, kind of grow the shape.
Is the feedback, does it ever get to you and like, oh man, I thought, I went into this and we were training it hard and like it was doing much better. Does it ever like affect kind of like your thoughts on, okay, maybe this area just isn't going to do that for me?
I can see how it can get to certain competitors because a lot of people are very hard on themselves, which I am very hard on myself. But when it comes to aspects like that of the sport, that isn't I mean, it's out of my control. So I do just take it with an open mind and tell my coach, and then we go from there. But no, I mean, all the judges are very nice. So even if they are critiquing you, they do put it in a kind way. So
Yeah.
they're not like, oh, you look terrible, do this, kind of thing. They're very nice about it, which is cool.
And have you learned any kind of like life lessons or lessons about yourself moving up to that next level or just, whether it be from your own training or from people around you?
Yes. Yeah. I've learned a lot. Probably too much to say on the one podcast. I've just learned a lot about the sport, about myself, my mindset, my limits, which once you start believing in yourself and believing that you can, and that you are limitless, and that there's nothing, that can get in your way other than yourself, your mind is stronger. Your mind is stronger than your body. You know what I mean? You can tell yourself whether you can or you can't. And if you say you can't, then yeah, you can't. So, I mean, it's things like that. You just have to believe in yourself more
Yeah.
so than anybody else can believe in you. And even if they're so supportive and everything like that, you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror every day and tell yourself you can.
Having that attitude of like, okay, my potential is honestly probably more than I'll even ever see, but I want to see what I can achieve in my life.
Mhm.
How does that affect you mentally whenever you do think, okay, I might need some time off, but I don't want to slow this progress down?
See, I love taking, like, even after shows, I do love taking a little bit of a break. Spending time with my friends, my family, going out. I love sushi, I love pizza. Like, I'm human. I'm not a robot. I like chocolate. I like food. um and yeah, that does come with a cost of, not looking as lean or as shredded, but that's the name of the game. So, I mean, you can't live stage lean. You know what I mean? So you do have to learn to love your body in every stage, which it took me a couple years to do that. I would always get a little nervous after a show, because I would know, what was coming. I would know that I'd look fluffier, my clothes would be tighter, all this kind of stuff. But that is the name of the game. And in order to grow muscle, in order to get stronger mentally and physically, you have to go through it. So there was never, I try and take those moments as like, this is me time. This is the time I can relax and have fun, but also keep, my mind down the road, know that, I gotta prep again, and this is only temporary, and I'm gonna get back on prep.
And I never thought about it kind of from the perspective of like, the body changing, because I think, people who aren't in the sport, they see the pictures or they see, the videos, and it's like, oh, they must be like that always. But,
No.
it's so crazy because like you're putting yourself in that state for a very short period of time. And then you have to almost, like you say, you can't live that like that. So you almost, I think that would be very challenging, for anyone on the outside looking in, especially just to like hit this goal. This is like what I want to achieve. And then
Can't obtain it.
you can't like keep it. You have to like let it go, and then you have to chase it again. I mean, that would almost seem, torturing in a way.
I mean, being stage lean is interesting. Sometimes it's a little weird for me. Like, I'm like so many veins. I'm like, meh, it's kind of, but I love every aspect of the sport. So afterwards, I'm just like, all right, let's eat. I'm like ready to jump back up and wait. I'm ready to have my clothes fit again. Things like that. So, I mean, it's just a little switch that I flip on in my head. I'm like either prep mode, or I'm relaxed, but also keep that balance.
Yeah. How do you,
But I
how,
mean, that took me a long, long time to learn. I used to have a harder time, but now, 7 shows in or 8 shows in, I'm kind of more of a lifestyle to it. But at the beginning, I was like going ham after shows and binging, and it wasn't the best. But I think everyone kind of goes through that stage.
so you mentioned like the stage where you just kind of like are relaxing a little bit, but also kind of keeping that balance there because you don't want to, go completely crazy. What kind of are there specific habits you like to keep up? Obviously you probably, continue to work out some, maybe not as crazy, but like you continue that, you continue the diet to some degree. But are there other things that you continue to do to just kind of keep yourself, mentally in that zone somewhat?
So yes, obviously it would stick to the program, go to the gym, stick to the diet, the training, and then, I mean, stick to the diet as best as I can. If there's a holiday, go out to dinner, things like that. I try not to cheat um, more than like 2 or 3 times a week, things like that, because I do want to do it the smart way. I want to reverse smart, and I want to, treat my body good, because it likes good food. Um, keeping my morning routine is very important to me, because without that, I kind of feel blah all day. And then when I feel blah, I'm like, oh, maybe I should eat. And then, of course, I'm not going to go for the vegetables. I'm going to go for the chips and stuff like that. So just keeping your mind right and keeping your mindset fresh encourages those good habits.
You kind of mentioned like being younger in the, in the pro league, really. Like, does that, do people kind of look at you a certain way? Does that kind of garner like any attention from those who've been in it a little while longer, like in a negative way ever?
So never, no, not in a negative way. I've never personally experienced any negative um, feedback from this sport, like any negative comments, any negative anything. So everyone's always been super, super supportive of me, which I'm thankful for. I know that there's probably some negativity out there, but I've never not personally experienced it. A couple of the girls did come up to me at the pro show and they were like, "How old are you, sweetie?" And I was like, 22. They're like, "Oh," but it was such a fun experience. It was empowering to me just to know that, like, yes, I am 22 and I am on stage with these people that have been to Olympia 5 times, been to Olympia 6 times, 7 times, got top 5 at Olympia. It's motivating for me, to keep going, but to know that like I have so much more to learn and to grow. Like I'm just getting started.
And do you have like a I'm sure you have some kind of like goal, but do you have like a, this is by this year I want to achieve this, or is it just kind of like keep working, and whatever happens will end up happening?
I mean, of course I have specific goals. I try not to make them too specific because I don't want to get disappointed. But being at the Olympia, competing at the Olympia would be absolutely amazing. I plan on doing a couple different pro shows this year to see, the feedback, see what's happening. And then if I get qualified, grand. Um, if not, just pushing harder for next year. But every year that comes, Olympia is always the goal.
And what advice would you have for girls or women who are competing right now, trying to push through to that, get their pro card? Like, is there anything that you kind of tell people, or anything that you thought, okay, this is what I did differently, or is it just kind of keep working, and things will work out the way they will work out?
I mean, I wish I could say like, oh, I did this different and then it clicked. But no, I mean, it's just you got to keep working. You got to keep pushing yourself. You can't give up. You can't, doubt yourself. You can't let the doubt flood in, but your time will come when it's your time. And when it is your time, you'll feel it. Like it'll be so worth it when it is your time that like you're like, this is just amazing. But you got to just keep chasing it. You can't give up.
So outside of bodybuilding, is there another kind of like motivation, like once your career's over, is there anything right now that at least that's saying like, this is gonna be my next thing? Like, is there that kind of other hobby maybe, or thing that you enjoy doing, like that's in like the fitness world?
Yeah. So I love business and like since the beginning, I've been trying to get into like the business aspect of fitness. You know, being an ambassador and promoting for other companies, being sponsored by other companies, of course, would be the goal. Building my own brand would be an amazing goal. Building up my clientele for online training would be great. I hope to one day get into contest prep so that I can inspire other girls to compete as well. And I just want to be heavily involved in the sport because it is my passion and it's been my life for so long. That would be the goal. That would be amazing,
Yeah.
just to inspire and help other people.
Yeah, I think that's one cool thing about fitness is like it's something that anybody can like be a part of. It doesn't,
Mhm.
there's not like an age requirement or anything. It's just,
It's
you
getting
can.
younger too. Like I'm at shows and I'm like, how old is he? Like, is he even able to go to the gym? Like, yeah, it's great though.
I
It's really
remember
inspiring.
I remember growing up and seeing that kid in the, I can't even remember what magazine it was now, but he was like super jacked, and like he would always, be on the cover of like whatever magazine, like, oh, this kid can do like this many push-ups or squat this much weight. And, looking
I think I know
back
what
at
you're
it,
talking about.
yeah, looking back at it, he was like the one person. And now it's like there's so many people, with Instagram and things like that. You can see so many more people, but like it's getting to where like so many young people are getting into it. And I think it's really cool to see from obviously like a health perspective, just moving in that direction.
Yeah, they are just getting younger and younger, I feel.
We're into the new year now, and that's when people are making resolutions. That's when people are trying to better their lives and just simply create better habits. Like, what advice would you have? I think as a bodybuilder, like, you kind of mentioned like that routine and then like you have certain habits. What advice would you have for somebody to like help them create habits?
There's so many things. I mean, you could, dedicate 20 minutes to doing something, active, or, and then, start with 20 minutes, then, in a week, go to 30 and then 40 and then on from there. But, you could even start with little goals like drinking a gallon a day, just little things, but working on yourself, putting yourself first, prioritizing yourself and your health. It's got to be your decision. It's got to be something that you truly want. I mean, a lot of people, being a trainer, sometimes you can, lead people to water, but you can't make them drink. You gotta want it for yourself. You gotta tell yourself that you can do it. You can't doubt.
That's
And it starts small. You just start with small things.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And I think the toughest part of being a trainer, just simply being someone who is motivated to like go work out and eat healthier foods and things, is having the people who come to you. What you probably had people in your family come to you and or friends, and they're like, "How can I get in shape?" And you're like, "I can
Mhm.
tell you everything, probably, how to do it and blah blah blah." But like, how long, are you actually going to stick with this? Because that's
Mhm.
what's going to matter. You can't achieve
Consistency is
this.
so key.
Yeah, that's and that's one thing that just over this journey of doing this podcast, somebody said that to me one time. Like, I asked them what their goal was, and they said, consistency this year. And to me that was just like a click in my mind, like, okay, that actually makes so much sense. because
That's a good goal. Yeah.
because you can do 1,000 miles of running in a single day, but like if you don't continue to run or you don't continue to lift weights for the next 6 months, that one great day of whatever or that one good day of eating is, it's just going to basically mean nothing. So
Hmm.
you kind of
I mean,
mentioned it there.
consistency could be with anything either, too, like reading consistently or journaling consistently or,
Yeah.
practicing something consistently. But it's all the building those habits.
Before we get out of here, if you want to let people know where they can follow you on social media or wherever else to just get inspired over this year.
I am on Instagram at Brynn.Noel. And then my training page is alphaangel.fit. So, but that's in the bio on my Instagram. But
Gotcha.
that's the best way.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I do appreciate you coming on the weight room and sharing your story, sharing some time. It's been a really cool conversation.
Thank you so much.